The cards hit the table like a gavel. "Full house," Mike said, his grin splitting wide as he raked in the chips. Our weekly poker night had turned brutal. My stack gone, ego deflating faster than the beer foam on my glass. The room smelled of stale chips and victory sweat, laughter echoing off the basement walls. But then came the real stake. A bet I'd thrown out in overconfidence. Lose, and I'd live as a woman for a full month. No half measures. Full immersion. Humiliation burned in my chest. But something else flickered. Curiosity, sharp and unbidden. My pulse quickened under their stares, the dare's weight settling like an unfamiliar garment. I nodded. Agreed. The laughter swelled, but inside, hesitation stirred. Back home, I faced the mirror, fingers tracing my jaw, wondering what I'd just unleashed. The first step. Tomorrow, shopping. For her. It started innocently enough, or so I told myself. Poker nights with the guys, Mike, Jamal, and Tyler, had been our ritual since college. Beers, bad jokes, the kind of stakes that escalated from pocket change to dares born of too much bravado. That Friday, the air in Mike's basement hummed with the low buzz of the dehumidifier and the shuffle of cards. I'd been on a roll earlier, bluffing my way through a few hands, feeling invincible. My chips piled high, the room's dim lamp casting long shadows over the felt table. Double or nothing, I'd said. Eyes on Jamal, who always folded too easy. But Mike, with his poker face like carved stone, called. And won. The loss hit like a gut punch. My full house, beat by his straight flush. The table erupted. High fives, groans, the clink of bottles. But then Tyler leaned back, smirking. "Pay up, Alex. Or you chicken out." I'd floated the bet mid-game, half joking, to up the ante when things got stale. Lose the pot, and the loser goes all in on a month-long transformation. Live as the opposite gender. No shortcuts. Dress, act, immerse. Documented weekly with photos. No backing out. It was meant to be ridiculous. A laugh for the group chat. But now, with my wallet empty and pride on the line, the words hung heavy. I stared at the scattered cards, heart thudding against my ribs. Pride screamed to laugh it off, call it a bluff. But these were my closest friends, guys who'd seen me through breakups, job losses, the mess of my 20s. Backing out would make me the flake, the one who couldn't follow through. And beneath the embarrassment, a thread pulled at me. What would it feel like? Not the joke, but the shift, the unknown. "Fine," I said, voice rougher than intended. "A month. Starting tomorrow." Jamal whooped, pulling out his phone. "Contract time! Rules! Full outfit daily! Makeup if you can manage. Pronouns and name change for the duration. We'll call you... Alexa. Proof or it's double the humiliation." The agreement sealed it, texts firing off, a group packed in black and white. No escape clause. Documented for accountability, they said, but really to keep me honest. That night, sleep evaded me. The apartment felt too still. My reflection in the bathroom mirror showing a guy in his usual jeans and tee, stubble shadowing my face. Resistance gnawed. This was insane. A straight guy's nightmare. But the pull? It whispered questions I'd buried. Why the envy in old photos of my sister dressing up? Why the linger on certain ads? Pride warred with that strange curiosity. like touching a bruise to see if it still hurt. Morning came too soon. The mall loomed, neutral ground for basics. I wandered the women's section, heat rising in my cheeks as sales clerks glanced over. "First time?" one asked, her smile kind but probing. I nodded, mumbling about a costume. Panties first, simple cotton, black to blend. In the dressing room, the fabric slid against my skin, foreign and cool, hugging in ways my boxers never did. A bra next, awkward clasps fumbling until she showed me. Then jeans, women's cut, tighter through the hips, curving where I wasn't used to. A blouse, soft blue, buttons on the wrong side. Each piece settled oddly, yet something in the drape felt settling. Like the weight I'd carried shifted, just a fraction. Friends' texts buzzed encouragement. "You'll crush it, Alexa." Mike sent a meme of a guy in heels, laughing emojis trailing. Their hype masked my doubts, the quiet questions bubbling up as I stared at the bags. Why did the mirror not scream wrong? Why the flutter in my chest? Not just nerves, but anticipation. The stir went deeper, touching places I'd ignored. Nights scrolling fashion subs, the ache of not fitting my skin quite right. But I pushed it down. This was the bet, nothing more. As the first outfit settled that afternoon, jeans hugging, blouse whispering against my arms, the month began. Tentative steps toward the door, toward an outing that would test it all. The world outside waited, oblivious. The door to my apartment creaked open, and the hallway light hit me like a spotlight. Jeans clung to my legs in unfamiliar ways, the blouse's collar brushing my neck with a softness that made me hyper-aware of every inch. I'd skipped heels for now. Sneakers, women's style, flat and unassuming. A quick YouTube tutorial had me practicing a higher pitch in the mirror that morning, voice cracking like thin ice. "Hi, I'm Alexa," I'd repeated, the words feeling borrowed, not mine. Heart hammering, I stepped out, the building's stale air mixing with the faint floral of the body spray I'd grabbed on impulse. The coffee shop was 2 blocks away, a neutral spot where baristas knew me as the guy who ordered black, no frills. Today, I aimed for a latte, something to blend in. Sidewalks felt longer, each step pulling the fabric taut, a constant reminder. Wind tugged at the blouse's hem, and I caught my reflection in a parked car's window. Stranger staring back. Hair still short, but parted differently. A touch of mascara smudging my lashes from nervous application. Panic flickered. What if someone laughs? Calls me out. But the street moved on, oblivious. And that eased the knot in my throat. Just a little. Pushing through the shop's door, the bell jingled like an alarm. The line was short. 2 women chatting, a guy scrolling his phone. I hummed back, hands in pockets that felt too shallow. When my turn came, the barista, young, tattooed, looked up. "What can I get you?" Her eyes flicked over me, pausing on the blouse, then away. Casual, no double take. "Medium latte, please," I said, pitching up as practiced. It came out breathy, not quite right, but she nodded, ringing it up without a blink. "Name?" "Alexa." The word hung, but she scribbled it on the cup, handed it over. No questions. The steam rose warm against my face as I waited, the shop's chatter wrapping around me like a blanket. Strangers' glances came in waves. An older man at a table near the window eyed me briefly, brow furrowing, then returned to his paper. A group of college kids laughed nearby, one girl's gaze lingering, curious, not mocking, before she turned back to her friend. It stirred unease, like walking a tightrope. Every look a potential shove. But then it shifted. The barista called Alexa without hesitation, sliding the cup my way. Casual acceptance, as if this was just another morning. My chest loosened, the air feeling lighter, less pressing. I sipped outside, the foam sticking to lips I'd lined with a neutral gloss, its subtle weight tugging at every expression. A half smile felt different, softer. Sitting on a bench, legs crossed instinctively to match the jeans cut, that internal flicker hit harder. Panic surged when a jogger passed too close, eyes narrowing. Did he see through it? But it faded into fleeting ease, the sun warming my arms through the thin sleeves, hair that I'd clipped back brushing my shoulders in the breeze. It wasn't just the bed. Something settled, like exhaling after holding breath too long. The world hadn't shattered. I existed in it, altered, and it rolled on. That's when Jamal texted. "How's the debut, Alexa? Spill." He'd offered to meet if needed, but I waved it off. Still, spotting him across the street, casual in his hoodie, he crossed over, grinning. "Looking good for day one." His nudge was gentle, no ribbing, just a shared coffee as we walked. We laughed about Mike's inevitable memes, the tension easing like a knot untying. "You sound different already," he said, not pushing, just noting. It felt like ally territory, safe ground amid the unknown. Back home, the door shut with a click, and I faced the mirror again. The outfit hung looser from the day's wear, but the reflection showed more than costume. Eyes brighter, posture less hunched, subtle changes urging me on. The month stretched ahead, not just a dare, but a door cracking open. Halfway through the month, the calendar's flip felt like a threshold crossed without fanfare. 2 weeks in, and the mornings had shifted from frantic rituals to something almost meditative. The alarm buzzed at 7, pulling me from sheets that tangled softer now, my body curling instinctively under the lightweight duvet. In the bathroom, the mirror fogged from the sink's run, but I wiped it clear, facing the routine head-on. Foundation first, creamy, cool against my skin, blending out the faint shadows under my eyes. No longer a mask slapped on for show, but a rhythm. The brushstrokes even, the tint warming my cheeks like a secret shared. Lipstick followed, a soft rose that clung lightly, altering the curve of my mouth without effort. It wasn't forced anymore. The mirror reflected hands that knew the steps, a quiet competence blooming in the steam. Body awareness crept in unannounced, woven into every layer. The jeans from that first shopping trip hung differently now, the denim curving over hips that seemed to have widened just enough. A subtle redistribution I chalked up to imagination at first. But no, the sway came without thought. Legs crossing at the ankles as I sat for coffee. The blouse's fabric whispering against skin that felt smoother, less rough under the sleeves. Lotion after shaving had become nightly, the scent of lavender lingering, softening edges I'd never noticed before. In the mirror, bras fit snugger. The underwire a gentle cradle rather than a contraption. It stirred a warmth low in my chest. Not the bet's pressure, but an ease, like slipping into water that matched my temperature exactly. Isolation wrapped around the old habits, a deliberate distance. No more late-night gaming sessions with the guys. Their texts came sporadic, check-ins laced with memes that landed flatter now. Tyler's, "How's Alexa holding up?" felt like echoes from another room. I skipped the gym. The weight room's clang too jarring against this new quiet. Even work emails piled up unread after hours. My evenings claimed by tutorials. Voice exercises humming through headphones. The pitch rising naturally. Less strain in the throat. But in that space, warmth grew in the reflections. Alone with the full-length mirror, outfits layered not for proof, but preference. A skirt one day, knee-length and flowing, catching the light as I turned. The glass showed someone settling. The isolation not empty, but filled with a private glow, like sunlight filtering through blinds. It was at work where the unexpected bond formed, cracking the solitude. I'd kept the change compartmentalized. Office casual, blouse tucked under a cardigan, hair tied back to blend. But Sarah from accounting caught me in the break room one afternoon, stirring her tea with that knowing tilt to her head. "You've been different lately," she said, voice low, eyes meeting mine over the steam. No accusation, just observation. I froze, cup halfway to my lips, the coffee's bitterness sharp on my tongue. Different how? She leaned in, conspiratorial. The clothes, the walk. It's not just a phase, is it? Her words hung, but her smile softened them, offering quiet support without demand. Turns out she'd noticed early. The sway, the glossed lips, and waited, respecting the space. "If you ever want to talk," she added, squeezing my arm lightly. "I'm here. Seen it before. With my sister." That touch lingered. A bridge across the facade, pulling me from isolation into something warmer. Share. Nights alone amplified the rising questions, the apartment dim under a single lamp. Curled on the couch, legs tucked under, I'd trace the day's remnants, the faint indent of earrings I'd tried, the smooth plane of my legs post-shave. How had the role blurred so seamlessly? What started as the bet script now felt scripted by me, choosing earrings not for documentation, but the way they caught the light against my neck. The pull deepened, touching buried threads, childhood moments borrowing my cousin's dresses, the dismissals as play. Now in the quiet it blurred into personal, a recognition uncoiling like smoke. Was this the dare, or me emerging? The questions swirled, unanswered, but not unwelcome, stirring a curious ache in my chest. Then came the small crisis at work, yanking the disguise tighter. A client call gone sideways, tech glitch mid-presentation, my voice cracking low in panic before I caught it, pitching up smooth. Sarah covered seamlessly, but afterward, in the empty conference room, the adrenaline settled into revelation. Heart still racing, I adjusted the skirt's hem. The fabrics drape a hidden comfort amid the chaos. No unraveling. Instead, a steadier grip on the roll, the comfort revealing itself not as costume, but anchor. The month pressed on, the truth inching closer. 3 weeks in, the immersion escalated without warning, pulling me deeper into the current. Mike's invite came via text. A casual house party, the kind we'd hit before, but now with the bet's rules etched in. Full Alexa mode, he added, emojis masking any edge. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering, the apartment's quiet amplifying the thrum in my chest. Backing out meant forfeiting, but going meant stepping out fully. No half shadows. I chose a dress for it. Simple black, knee-length, the fabric shifting like water as I zipped it up. Voice training from online clips had smoothed the edges. My words flowed higher now, fluid without the earlier strain, breath carrying them light across the room. Earrings dangled, cool against my lobes, a first. The mirror caught it all. Posture straighter, lips glossed in a deeper berry. the reflection less borrowed, more inhabited. The drive to Mike's blurred the line between nerves and something electric. Streetlights streaked past, the seatbelt crossing my chest in a way that pressed gently, reminding me of changes I'd stopped questioning. At the door, bass thumped low, voices spilling out warm and muffled. I smoothed the dress, inhaled the faint vanilla of my perfume, chosen that morning, lingering now like a signature. Stepping in, heads turned, then away. Jamal's nod, Tyler's quick grin. "Alexa looks killer," someone said, the name landing natural, pronouns slipping in without correction. Conversations wove around me. Work gripes, weekend plans. My responses coming easy. Laughter bubbling up unforced. A girl from Tyler's office chatted makeup tips, her eyes bright. I shared the rose shade's staying power, the words tasting true. No spotlight, just presence. The party's hum wrapping me in its rhythm, the dress's hem brushing my calves with each step. Alone later, in Mike's quiet guest bath, the thrill cracked open. Door locked, I leaned against the sink, cool porcelain grounding me amid the distant chatter. Water ran, but my thoughts drowned it out. This wasn't performance anymore. The ease in the crowd, the way voices parted for mine. Admitting it felt like exhaling smoke. The thrill hummed deeper, a current under skin that responded without prompt. Nights before, scrolling closets online, I'd lingered not on the dare's checklist, but the feel, the silk of a scarf, the click of heels on tile. It stirred an intimate revelation, quiet but insistent. This body, this voice, fit in ways the old one never had. Not the Betts script, but a script I'd always half written, now surfacing in the mirror's unforgiving light. My fingers traced the dress's neckline, the fabric yielding soft, and for a moment, tears pricked. Not fear, but the weight of recognition, heavy and light all at once. Sensory shifts deepened it, threading through every hour. Perfume clung longer now, a subtle veil that turned heads not in question, but quiet approval. Skin softened under nightly lotions, the cream absorbing quick, leaving a silken wake that made shirts glide rather than chafe. My body moved intuitively, hips tilting in the dress, arms crossing loose. Responses blooming from muscle memory I'd never claimed. Showers brought it home. Water beating smoother, curves emerging where lines had blurred. The steam carrying a floral note from shampoo that felt mine. It wasn't illusion. It was settling. Like silt in water, clearing to reveal depths.
Then the conflict peaked. Jamal pulling me aside on the porch, beer in hand, his face serious under the string lights. "Bet's almost up, Alex. Alexa, you good?" Ends looming. His check-in landed gentle, but the words twisted. Reluctance surfaced sharp, a knot in my throat. The month had flown, but now it loomed as loss. The end meaning shedding this, returning to the ill fit. "I'm not sure," I said, voice steady but laced with the truth. He nodded. No push, just presence. "Whatever you need." That reluctance echoed home, sleep fractured by the what-ifs. Subtle shifts marked the turn. Mornings choosing accessories not for proof but rightness. A necklace's weight comforting, earrings swaying like extensions. The dare faded. Preference rose, pulling me toward the final week. It approached now, forcing confrontation. The truth no longer hidden, demanding I face what the bet had unearthed. The final week arrived like a held breath finally released, the calendar's pages turning under my fingers with a weight that felt both inevitable
and tender. Morning stretched longer now, the light filtering through curtains in softer hues, pulling me toward the closet with a quiet intent. Experimenting went beyond the basics. Dresses first, a simple wrap in deep green that tied at the waist, the fabric folding against my skin like an old friend returning. It draped over curves that had settled into place, no longer questioned, the hem swaying with steps that carried a natural rhythm. Jewelry followed. A thin silver chain, cool against my collarbone, catching the morning sun in glints that made my chest hum with something like belonging. Each choice layered on, earrings brushing lobes, a bracelet's faint jingle echoing in the quiet apartment. It wasn't the bet's demand anymore. It was home. The pieces fitting into spaces I'd left empty. The mirror reflecting not a costume, but contours that echoed inward. That afternoon, the phone rang. Mom's number lighting the screen, her voice warm through the speaker as we fell into the usual rhythm. "How's work treating you, honey?" I paused, stirring tea in the kitchen, the steam rising in lazy curls. "Busy, but good." The words slipped out easy, but then the pivot came unbidden. "She," I said, correcting Dad's casual slip on the line. "Alexa's been handling presentations better." Silence stretched, thin as the steam, but not cold. Mom's intake of breath softened into a question. "Alexa? That's new." I explained in fragments. The bet, the month, the way it lingered. Pronouns wove in naturally after that. Her, she, tentative at first, then warmer, adapting like sunlight shifting through leaves. Dad grunted approval, his adaptation quieter, a gruff, "Sounds like you're figuring things out." The call ended with plans for dinner, the warmth lingering in my chest. A bridge extended across the distance, pulling family closer without force. Alone that evening, the internal monologue uncoiled, pulling me to the couch where shadows pooled soft. I recalled the pre-bet unease, the itch under my skin during those poker nights, laughter ringing hollow while envy tugged at edges I dismissed. Mornings in baggy tees, staring at a reflection that fit like borrowed clothes. The quiet certainty absent, replaced by a fog of not quite right. Nights scrolling feeds, pausing on images that stirred without name. The ache buried under routines. Now, contrasting in the dim light, that certainty bloomed quiet. The ease in my steps, the voice that resonated true without effort, the body responding to fabrics and scents as if they'd always waited. It wasn't sudden. It was revelation. The bet's force peeling back layers to show what simmered beneath. A self I'd circled without seeing, now stepping into light. Jamal stopped by the next day, unannounced, 2 coffees in hand, his knock pulling me from a half-tried hairstyle in the mirror. We sat at the kitchen table, steam curling between us, his eyes steady. "I've been watching," he said, voice low. No judgment. "Saw the change early. That first outing. The way you didn't flinch." He confessed it then. "Noticing the linger in your gaze during our old hangouts. The subtle shifts, even before the bet. Wasn't sure, but it fit. You're you, Alexa. No pressure, just saying." His affirmation landed light, affirming without weight, a nod that eased the last threads of doubt. We talked fragments, his sisters coming out, the quiet support that mattered most. His presence a mirror to my own emerging shape. Steady and without demand. The emotional core hit that night.
The apartment hushed under rain's patter against the window. I stood before the full-length mirror, dress from earlier draped over a chair, just a robe loose around me. Hands traced the reflection, neck smoother, shoulders less squared, eyes holding a depth that caught the lamplight. Tears came then, warm tracks down cheeks that no longer burned with stubble's shadow. Not from fear, the old terror of exposure, but recognition. This was the shape I'd mourned without words, the life the bet had cracked open. The salt blurred the glass briefly, but wiping it clear, the image sharpened. Self, unveiled, whole in the quiet glow. The bet's deadline hit the next dawn, sun breaking through clouds, the decision point crystallizing sharp. No more extensions. The path forward beckoned. Not as end, but beginning. The morning of the deadline dawned clear. Sunlight slanting through the blinds in thin golden strips that caught the dust motes dancing slow. I stood in the kitchen, coffee steaming in a mug that warmed my palms, the robe's terry cloth soft against skin that no longer itched with unfamiliarity. The group chat buzzed. Jamal's, "Bets up, Alexa. Debrief tonight?" But the words blurred as the decision crystallized, sharp as glass underfoot. This wasn't ending. It was shifting. I typed back. "That's over. But I'm not. Meet me as Alexa. For real." The send button pressed like a seal. The old Alex dissolving not in tragedy, but quiet release. No fanfare. Just the hum of the fridge, and my breath steadying. The path forward unfolding in the light. Practical steps wove in seamlessly, threads pulling the new shape taut. The closet expanded that week. Dresses in muted tones, a wool coat for cooler days, its lapels framing my neck like gentle hands. Wardrobe updates came from online orders and Sarah's tips, her texts guiding. "Try this brand. The seams won't bind." Voice lessons followed. A weekly session with a coach over Zoom, her prompts drawing my resonance higher. Words flowing fluid now. Less effort in the lift. "Breathe from here," she'd say, hand on her diaphragm. And I'd mimic, the vibration settling deep, natural as inhaling fog. Community resources surfaced too. Local groups mentioned in forums, their meetings a quiet anchor. First one was tentative, a circle of chairs in a community center, faces lit soft by lamps. Stories shared in murmurs, nods of understanding. I spoke fragments, the room's warmth easing the edges. Support not demanded, but offered, like a hand extended in dim light. Bittersweet insights settled in the evenings, curled on the couch with tea cooling beside me. The loss of the old self wasn't a void, but liberation. The bet's imposed chance cracking the shell I'd worn too tight. Alex's routines, baggy jeans, gravelly laughs, faded like echoes in an empty hall. Not mourned, but shed, the weight lifting to reveal contours that breathed easier. It felt foreign and impossibly natural. The imposed dare braiding with buried truths, turning force into freedom. Nights tracing the silver chain at my throat, I'd whisper gratitude to the quiet. For the poker table's shove, the laughter that masked the pull, the month that unearthed what simmered unseen. New horizons bloomed, tentative, a first date marking the edge. Sarah set it up. Coffee with her friend Lena, a quiet artist with eyes that held questions without pressure. I chose a simple sweater, its knit yielding soft over jeans that hugged without strain. Lipstick in that rose shade clinging light. The cafe hummed low,
steam rising from our cups as we talked. Her sketches, my shift from bet to becoming. Vulnerability shared in glances, her hand brushing mine across the table. Confidence blooming not loud, but steady, like roots pushing through soil. Laughter came easy, the air between us warm. Her, "You seem settled," landing like affirmation. Walking out, the evening chill nipping at my cheeks, I felt the bloom deepen. Connections not forced, but fitting. The world opening in hues I'd only glimpsed before. Reflective close wrapped the days, gratitude threading through like light under doors. The bet's push had been the spark, rough but necessary, now owned in full. The transformation mine, not borrowed. Mornings in the mirror showed eyes brighter, posture fluid, the self emerging whole. Friends adapted, Mike's texts shifting to, "Hey Alexa," Jamal's nods deeper. The group chat alive with plans that included her. Work flowed smoother, presentations voiced clear. Sarah's quiet pride a constant. It all settled, the journey's arc bending toward permanence, leading to reflections that lingered long after the deadline's echo. Months blurred into a new rhythm after the deadline, the bet's shadow fading like morning mist under sun. Full integration came in quiet waves. Legal papers first, the name change form trembling slightly in my hands at the courthouse. Alexa etched official on ID, that felt like reclaimed ground. Work adjustments flowed seamless. HR's nod was brief, a policy email citing support, colleagues shifting pronouns with the ease of habit. Sarah's "Welcome, Alexa," at the water cooler carried weight. Her smile, a quiet anchor. The server room, once a hideout, opened wider. Requests pulling me into meetings. My voice steady now, resonating from that trained depth. Words landing clear without echo. Ongoing adjustments layered in. Mental health check-ins becoming touchstones. Therapy sessions twice monthly. The counselor's office soft lit. Her questions drawing out the threads. How does the body feel today? I'd trace the session's end with a sigh, the weight of processing lighter each time, like fog lifting from a window. Building a network wove through it. Online forums first, anonymous posts met with replies that felt like hands extended. Then local meetups, faces in a cafe circle sharing fragments of journeys. One evening, a woman's story of her own forced start mirrored mine. Her laugh pulling mine free. The group's warmth seeping in, turning isolation to interconnection. Hormones entered the picture too. A doctor's consult confirming the pull I'd felt. Low-dose estrogen smoothed edges further. Skin glowing softer. Curves settling without fanfare. The vials, a private ritual by the sink. The counterintuitive payoff revealed itself in stolen moments. The bet's force, not a cage, but a key. Unlocking voluntary truth from imposed play. What began as humiliation's edge had braided into authenticity, the dare's rigidity giving way to choice's fluidity. Nights alone, robe loose, I'd reflect on that poker table. The laughter's shove revealing what simmered. Necessity's mask peeling to show the face beneath. It wasn't loss, it was gain. The external push echoing internal calls I'd muted, turning have to into want to. The transformation owned in full. Lasting images etched daily. Coral shades on lips each morning. The tubes click a punctuation to routine. Body at ease in yoga pants that stretched without bind. The mirror catching a sway that's mine now. Walks through the park brought it home. Leaves rustling overhead, breeze lifting hair past shoulders, steps light on gravel paths. No second glance pulling me inward. Friends' gatherings shifted too. Mike's barbecues included me as Alexa, Jamal's arm around shoulders in easy camaraderie. The old Alex, a story told in past tense, not present ache. The emotional anchor held steady, knowing discovery often hides behind necessity's veil. That basement bet, once a joke's sharp edge, had been the catalyst, rough but revelatory, pulling me from fog to clarity. Gratitude threaded through it all. The imposed month, a gift in disguise, unveiling a life that fit like breath after holding too long. Evenings wound down with journals, pen scratching thoughts of tomorrow's plans. The apartment no longer echo but home, filled with scents of lotion and possibility. The journey stretched on, not linear but layered. Each day a quiet affirmation of the self unearthed. Heels clicked on familiar paths now, life fully mine in the evening light. If this resonated, subscribe for more stories of quiet becoming. Turn on notifications so you catch the next one.